Welcome to the Santa Cruz Coffee Break. If you're watching on YouTube or listening on Apple Podcast, please follow, hit the like button, or any subscribes. It really helps us with the algorithms. Santa Cruz Coffee Break is produced by the Santa Cruz Guitar Players Forum. All opinions are those of the speakers. We invite you to join us on the Santa Cruz Guitar Players Forum at SCGCPF for more fun. Now, let's get on with this installment of Santa Cruz Coffee Break. We'd like to welcome everybody to the 87th podcast of the Santa Cruz Guitar Players Forum. And today we are honored, excited, and joyous to have Eric Skye with us. So welcome, Eric.
Thanks, guys. I feel the same way about being with you again.
Well, I can't think of a better
Happy New Year
podcast to start 2025 with.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's so futuristic. Do you remember that old 60s song? What was it called? In the year 2525.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been singing that all week, but 2025. And the first line, something about if man is still alive. And yeah. Anyway, it feels very futuristic.
Yeah, it does.
I want my jetpack.
Well, the people that are doing the air taxis are in Marina. At the Marina Airport. They're developing air taxis. They're flying air taxis around this area.
Oh, cool. All
Yeah.
right. Next stop, Logan's Run. You remember that one?
Yeah. Right here in the beautiful Monterey Peninsula.
Although I would be past my expiration in that particular movie.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you have been paying attention to CES and what's coming out of Las Vegas at the moment.
No.
Good. Don't.
Okay.
It'll scare you. It'll scare you.
Okay.
So back to jazz, huh?
Yeah, right. I am starting to play more jazz again. I think I took about, I've been saying I take 5 years off. Obviously, I've been doing some, but not as like a main focus. And I don't think it's going to be my main focus now, but I'm starting to want to play again and possibly thinking about putting together a trio just to play in town of bass, upright bass and drums. I don't have any people yet, but I'm working on that repertoire. I think that we lost Carlton Jackson probably, oh God, I don't know if I'm getting this right, but it feels like maybe 4 years ago now. And yeah, so that kind of threw me, so it's hard to imagine who would sit in that drum spot. Just a amazing player. And then when Brian Casey, the bass player I used to play with years ago, you remember, he moved to Colorado to become a professor of jazz and, never quite filled that spot either. So, been a long time since I've done any kind of trio thing. So, I've made no progress on that front, but that's one of the aspirations for 2025 is to maybe get that together. And I've been just sort of working on it like it's coming up, which, as you know, I think we covered in a podcast episode earlier about practicing. I'm a big fan of just, naming an album before you even make it or have the tunes together. You just got to sort of, you got to be able to see that goal if you're going to really do the work that it takes to get there, so that's kind of thing number one. I think more presently, in fact, as recently as 24 hours ago, I've been getting together with a fellow Santa Cruz artist, Scott Law, and we are going to do at least one duo jazz guitar gig, like under the heading of like flat top jazz something. I don't know. We'll think of something funny to say. I was thinking about some good graphics, like some old 50s haircuts, the kids with the flat tops. And as you guys know, Scott's a monster guitar player. He's just so great. For people who don't know, he took his flat picking to the point where he was playing with Daryl Anger and Grisman and, that whole gang, and his jam band thing to playing with the Grateful Dead members like Bob Weir and Phil Lesh and stuff. And, but a lot of people don't know, and maybe I have this wrong, but I think he majored in jazz, in college back when, and he's a monster bebop player too. So, or jazz player, I don't know what bebop, but anyway, so he was trying to get me to do stuff a couple of years ago. I'm like, I'm not really doing that so much. But we've been playing a couple mornings lately, early mornings, and it's been pretty fun. So we're going to do a house concert here pretty soon, and maybe make some videos and do some stuff. And that's been really it's been really fun. And we're gonna do some harder things, or it's actually all really hard to me. Like you wouldn't think so, but there's a lot of tunes that I just don't. I don't have them anymore. They go away, especially with age. But so I've been kind of brushing up, but also a lot of new stuff. Some like Keith Jarrett and kind of Ahmad Jamal type things. Some Horace Silver. Uh, Yesterday we were playing flamenco sketches from the Kind of Blue stuff. So some stuff that's like a little left of the standard stuff. And anyway, so that's been really fun. So that's the jazz thing. But the front burner is still probably a lot of this adventuresome folk kind of flat picking stuff I've been doing with Jamie. Jamie and I will do more gigs this year for sure. We're going to be I think we're going to shoot another video in the coming weeks, and I'm working on some solo material a little more loosely. But yeah, that's what's coming up for me.
And you're producing?
I am. Yeah. Thanks for mentioning that. Yeah, that's another thing for me in 2025 is hanging my shingle a little bit more publicly about someone that's available to help with particularly audio, but also video. And I think a lot of times these days, more and more, our audio is packaged in video.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's something that I've been doing for a really long time. I've released almost 10 albums under my own name, and all of which I've had a hand in mixing and editing, in some cases mastering. More recent ones, I've done all of the mixing and all of the editing and all of that. And it's something I really enjoy, and I think recently been really drilled down on. And I really discovered that I just love working with other artists,
Yeah.
I just really do. And I'll acknowledge my privilege. I have, for whatever reason, I have friends. I get to work with really great artists, basically. Yeah, I've been really fortunate, just with people who just sound great, and they're really great at what they do, and that makes it a lot of fun. And yeah, it's just really fun to work with people, and that's something I may not have seen coming like 20 years ago. It was just kind of all about moving my own ball down the field. But it's really fun to see other people getting attention and doing things and stuff. So,
Well, you just got another ball. Now there's two to move down the field. There's
yeah,
the work with other people, which is your work as well. I mean,
yeah, it's fun. I love, as you know, I'm a tone nerd, and that has to do with guitars and stuff too, but also microphones and just capturing stuff, and it's just great. And so there again, acknowledging my privilege of just having some really great people to record and great tone. It's just like, so, it's like if you lived in Ireland and you're into photography, you can just drive out to the coast and,
yeah,
it,
step outside.
yeah. I think, I think yesterday, this artist I've been working with kind of a lot lately, Jonah Sisoyev, singer, songwriter, acoustic guitar player, we just dropped a video I did with him, and he's on a small label whose name escapes me. American Standard Graham, I think, is the label. Anyway, I'm super excited about that, and he's just amazing to work with, as is his wife, who's in that video, but also I've made a video of her that we're kind of sitting on until her album comes out. But Jonah and I are going to produce his upcoming EP. And so it'll be an audio only album that'll be available probably this summer. We had a meeting about that yesterday, and I'm just so excited because he's so great. um, and he likes my idea, which is I'd like to record him in my living room and kind of a farm to table, single microphone, live, no overdubs, no headphones, no nothing, and few different guest artists coming in and out for various tunes and stuff, and he's down with that. So very excited about that. So that's coming up this year too. And I have a meeting later today, in fact, pre-production meeting with a young flat picking guitar player in Virginia, and he's looking at making a full-length solo flat picking record. So I think that that's also coming down the pike, and that's something that's going to happen remote. So for people who might be interested, how would that work? We're going to communicate about how to capture, his guitar as best as possible. So I have the most to work with, send me the files, multiple takes of things so I can help, get them as best they can be, and mix them or whatever, but also gonna help with some feedback about, the arrangements and things. Just be an extra set of ears, so yeah, that's the kind of stuff I've been doing.
Well,
Good ears.
this latest video that I noticed on Facebook was exceptionally good. The audio was very good, and your video style, if you want to call it that, was also exceptionally good. Did that only come out on Facebook, or are you going to be putting these pieces out on some other platform that might be less Zuckerbergy?
Right. Well, first of all, it's his video, so it's available, on Jonah's social media as well as his YouTube page. So I know for sure it's on Instagram and Facebook, which is all Zuckerberg stuff, but also YouTube. And I think his record label will probably get it out. I know we did one for him in the past where they, a couple of magazines had shared it and whatever. So it's really his thing to get out. But and thank you for the compliments. Of course, Newman here was my mentor with video work. I learned so much from working with him. So huge thanks. And yeah, the video part. And then I also appreciate the comment about the audio. And in fact, that's a good example of the kind of recording I was talking about that I want to target with the EP, just like single mono recording, where you're just using one mic and just, taking a little bit of time up front and just finding that right spot where we're capturing a good organic balance of the voice and the guitar. And in that case, the harmony singer, his wife, Anna, whom on the side there, I don't know if I'm saying her, Hoon. Sorry, I'm bad with names. Yeah, and I've done other stuff like that with fiddle and banjo and singing and whatnot. That's coming down the pike pretty soon. With another artist, but I really like that style of recording. There's something about mono recording for ensemble that you just don't have to deal with phase. I don't know how nerdy people want to get, but when you have more than one microphone, you have to deal with how the delay between the two microphones. So if the signal arrives at one microphone before the other, then it creates problems and whatever, and it can just get a little weird. And so mono kind of eliminates that. Plus, I think it, not using headphones and keeping it mono and going old school like that really forces the artist to balance themselves organically. I mean, some just can't. Some people just don't sing, their guitar is louder than their voice or vice versa. But some artists, like Jonah, they can do that. They can just get this amazing, if he sang in front of you in a room, you just, it's gorgeous, right? So we just need to find a spot where we're picking up everything as best that we can. And I enjoy that. I enjoy trying to find that one spot. So no pickups, no extra or anything.
That the audio on that piece is really good. I was quite stricken by it.
Thanks.
Especially the harmony comes in almost hauntingly. It's just
Yeah.
beautiful. Um,
Thanks. Yeah, I
that's why I
really.
wanted to make sure we include a link to that so that everybody can see both your work as well as Jonah's work
Oh,
without
okay, great.
necessarily putting them
I'll
into
give you a
the
YouTube link then.
yeah.
I'll
Okay.
send it. I'll send it to you after the fact. Yeah, more on that audio really quick. The other fun thing I like about it, and I know Richard gets it. It's fun to do it in sort of a guerrilla style. You're going into a space it's not a recording studio. There's no bass traps or diffusion or absorption, which of course is ideal. But if it's not, it's a fun problem to solve in the moment. And I just like, I have a really close friend who's an emergency room doctor, and he always says the thing he likes about it is like the problem solving. It's like pressure's on, you gotta, whatever. I think he also likes he doesn't have to follow up with anybody, doesn't have to do much paperwork or whatever. But I kind of like that with the audio, and so that case we have this amazing place that Jonah found, geez, just a mile or two out of town here, that does like salvaged lumber, but the owner is like kind of a collector of all these found objects. I don't even know how to describe it. I think there might be a link in that YouTube page and you can look it up. But it's just this an enormous place with all this cool stuff. So we took one look at it. I'm like, oh, we got to do this because there's just so much color and interesting objects and stuff. But we went in there thinking we were going to record in one room, and then it was like pouring rain on the skylights and trucks are going by. We're like, oh, we can't do it. So we had to go in this other room. And by the way, we got to be out of here in 1 hour. And so it is like that emergency room doctor thing. And, so you look at a room and you try to figure out where the corners are and where the walls are. And, if I threw a ball, like where's, it was going to bounce, where's it going to end up, and that's how you have to think about that microphone. And at the same time, I'm also, I'm trying to balance the idea of getting, as big and larger than life kind of recording, because that's the way people are used to hearing things days, not like a field recording, right? But I also don't like pop recordings where, the loudest parts are pushed down and the quietest parts are pushed up and they're really compressed. And I do need to use some reverb because that kind of gives some stereo illusion if you know about how reverb works, right? And, we want some natural ambiance. But I'm sure Richard would concur, but I hate when I see, on one end of the spectrum, someone playing outside, but the reverb sounds like they're in Grace Cathedral or something. It's like, it really messes with your brain, right? Because we're so kind of governed by our eyeballs. And when you see someone in a small room and it sounds like they're in, a giant theater, it's really weird. So I like that challenge of, being a little larger than life, a little gooey and gluey for the sound, but not discordant with what you're seeing and hearing. So there you go. Rant concluded.
Yeah. Oh,
Well,
I think it's good stuff. I mean, I was particularly impressed by that piece. And I was going to ask, I see a very fancy microphone. I'm not a microphone nerd, but
Ear trumpet
that one,
Delphina model made
okay.
a mile and a half from my house. Yeah.
yeah,
Ah,
I wanted to know, because I know that you're completely a junkie
Mm-hmm.
in this area. I kind of wondered, looks like a Neumann, like a KM 184 in front of us.
Oh, this is a Sheps.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, which is a phenomenal mic. It's so funny. If you saw it spelled, it looks like it says Shopes, and some people do say Shopes. And there's a great video on YouTube of all these people at the NAMM show trying to say it, and a lot of people say Sheps. Most people say Sheps. Some people say, what did I say, Shopes? and then they have a family member in Berlin who says it. And I'm not exactly sure what the hell he says. It's sort of like right in between. It sort of sounded like Shoops. So anyway, they're great people. They've been sharing a lot of my stuff lately, which makes me really excited. They're very expensive. So this was a a big indulgence, but it's a lifetime thing, like buying a Santa Cruz guitar. It's an heirloom, really, and it is modeled exactly as you nailed, the KM84. Great microphones. But
Yeah.
with Jonah and doing the singer-songwriter guitar thing, I do like a large diaphragm, and I do really like the ear trumpet, particularly that Delphina model. It's a little wider of a pattern. So if you think about the pickup pattern of this microphone, which is a cardioid, which like cardio is shaped like a heart, right? So it picks up a lot in front of it, primarily in front of it, a little bit on those nodes or bubbles on the side, and not so much in the back. And that particular Delphina model, which I believe is like a signature model for the Del McCoury band.
Yeah, a lot of
Yeah, it's a little bit of a slightly wider. It's a fatter heart, you know, maybe like mine as I get older, and so it's a little bit better for ensemble kind of stuff, and which is why we can pick up Anna, or I have some other things where there might be like a fiddle in the background and stuff, and it picks it up really nice, but it's not omni, you know, so it's not picking up behind it. Anyway.
Yeah, they Brandon Lee Adams is using it. They're using it part of the time on Life of a Musician, and I know Jamie had him for a while, didn't she?
Yeah, she has the other I can't remember the really popular model. It looks just like the one that I have, but it's slightly different. But yeah, she has one too. Yeah. It's good stuff. And Brandon, I met Brandon at the NAMM last year, and we actually roomed together for a little while, and he is just a real treat to get to know, and you know, what he's doing is amazing.
This season opening with Vince Gill, and you know, going through the people that he's going through. I mean, it's just,
yeah, it's really great.
He's got to get through season 3, and then it's pretty much open world for him, you know. But he's just got to get to the end of 3. Are you going to go down to NAMM?
No, not this year. I've got some stuff to do. But it
Me
sure
neither.
was great to see you last time.
It was great to have lunch. You know, I think that's what we did.
Being in Oregon this time of year, it is challenging sometimes with the light and the cold and the dark and the wet. I don't normally complain. I love the weather here. It's good working weather, and then in summer there's just no place you'd rather be. But that is one thing about NAMM. Like, having lunch outside in the middle of January is just incredibly novel. And I know I'm not the only one who feels that way. I'm like, of the 90,000 people who are there, like 70,000 people know what I'm talking about. You know?
Yeah, it's I don't know. I mean, certainly with what's going on down there right now, it's all our good thoughts down that way. I looked at a map last night, and the apartment that we lived in is gone, and the house that we were going to buy is gone. And what a realization, you know, to like go, I would have invested my life down there, and like that, it would be gone. Boy, you know, it's kind of like, for every moment precious here, kind of that kind of thing. What you're doing, we know what guitars you're playing.
The guitars I'm playing does not change.
Yeah,
The only thing I change is my strings. Like every couple Wednesdays, you know, I'll put a new set of strings on, but nothing changes here. You know, I'll play number 1 for about 6 or 7 months, and then I'll go, you know, I should go see what number 2's up to. Exact same guitar, slightly different top. And that's why I've been playing number 2. You know, they did the Darren replaced all the frets on number 2. Number 3 is on its, I'm sorry, number 1 is on its 3rd set of frets.
Wow.
Yeah, but I definitely burned through them. But yeah, number 2 just got 2nd pair. I left it with Darren at the NAMM show last year, and I got it back in February, and I have not stopped playing it since. It got stainless steel frets, which I've never had before, and I think Darren was saying, you know, you really burned through these. Have you considered, you know, doing stainless steel? And I think I had heard would I now think a sort of internet folklore that they know that would impart like more brightness, or something, that
Yeah,
went, and I don't hear, or at least it's out of my wheelhouse, and I'm a tone nerd, so. But yeah, that between that and the of course going through the Plek machine or whatever, it has just been, this guitar has just never been this good, and I can't put it down.
yeah. I have stainless steel frets on my Mando, and
Okay.
and yeah, I understand it, but I know they're much harder to work with.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do it. I mean,
In, in
but I
terms
can't do
of,
any of that stuff, so I
in
don't,
terms of filing, or in terms of
Right.
leveling and stuff like that, it's a whole
Yeah.
different set of tools.
Yeah.
Because those things, they're tough.
Yeah. And I think I got a new nut and saddle on. So I got a whole kind of facelift on that guy, and it was getting a little worn out, and with all those parts there, and so yeah, it's back to brand new Ferrari driving off the lot
Yeah.
status. Yeah. So
Any new favorite foods?
foods
Yeah, yeah. Any new foods?
Got to throw something at you.
for the guitar. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Didn't I tell you last time the Wes Montgomery joke when he was asked if he practiced? He said, "No, I just throw some meat in the case." No, not really. I mean, this time of year, a lot of soups and stews and stuff. And I often joke that if I ever made a cookbook, or I guess this day and age, it'd be like a cooking web series or something, it would be on soups and stews. I, I may have told you in the past that when I was a kid, my grandmother owned a restaurant in Pennsylvania that in like this little tourist area that was just made soups. They would have like 5 or 6 soups, and so that's like always been in my family, and I just love making soups and stuff. So mostly, well, all vegetarian because I'm vegetarian. Yeah, but over Christmas I made clam chowder and things like that. But yeah, that's mainly what's happening right now, and it's that kind of weather.
That would be a great little audio experience, the sound of really good stews and soups cooking on the stove.
I,
When you open your can, you could turn that on and believe that you've got something wonderful and homemade.
Yeah, I this is something crazy. I actually went through a little phase where I was thinking about seriously doing this because I love doing video stuff, and I feel like our kitchen looks nice, it could be photogenic, and I do love cooking, and I love teaching and stuff, and it could be fun to do like stews and blues or something, like do a couple, like make a soup or something, but then interject some blues licks on the acoustic guitar in there.
That
I
would
don't
be
know. Let us know
awesome.
out there if anyone would watch a web show of me making wholesome vegan fare with
Absolutely.
interspersed with some Freddie Freeloader or something.
Well, your kitchen has been the backdrop of quite a few videos, and they've all worked very well. So I think that's a great idea.
Okay. All right. Betty
I was
Crocker.
thinking more of like just video of the stew,
Okay.
like just sitting there bubbling,
Uh-huh.
and like 30 minutes of it or something like
Yeah,
that.
like an AMSR kind of
Yeah,
420 friendly thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
yeah. It could,
yeah, I don't know about that. Anyway.
Well, wasn't the first video on the internet something like a coffee pot and
Yeah.
in a
Hmm.
science lab somewhere?
Probably. I don't know.
Yeah.
oh, I think we could let you go. I mean, we said a little bit, we talked a little bit about the new year. And I think one thing that's really important is that you like decide what you want to get rid of before you
Yeah.
decide on what the new thing is going to be. So it's kind of like you got to empty the bucket before you put new stuff in it. Otherwise, the bucket kind of overflows. So, any thoughts on that?
Yeah. The new year. I love the new year. I do have thoughts about it. I think it's my favorite holiday. I don't particularly like New Year's Eve. But I mean, I do, but I can't, I'm seemingly incapable of staying up till midnight, and I don't really drink, so, um, but New Year's Day just feels like, this holiday, it's just potentially built around renewal. And I think I love the idea of using that as a time to maybe set intentions for the upcoming year and set goals. I don't like the idea of resolutions in particular because in my mind, there's like a negative thing to that. Like I should quit using profanity. Well, that'll never happen anyway. But it's just implying that there's this negative thing and that I need to work on. And of course, we all know resolutions don't last, so we kind of have sort of phony feelings about it or whatever. But at the same time, it is a good time to maybe make goals and stuff. And so, as a teacher, I always end up talking to my students about this. Like first of all, you can write this stuff down, and I think that it kind of gets it out of your internal dialogue, which isn't really good. I think we should get things on paper that we feel strongly about and seriously about. And set some goals and intentions. So for me, like for example, musically, I've been playing a little bit more with the pick lately in not just flat picking, but even revisiting some of my previous finger style material, but playing with like pick and fingers. And I think that's partially because as I get older, I've had more and more trouble with one of my fingers on my right hand, just with arthritis and stuff. And I've played around with playing that way in the past. And I certainly think the, unbelievable popularity of Julian Lage, who's just, like this once a century guitar player who's bubbled up in our era. And then you could see a lot of young players now, I do anyway, that are kind of influenced by that. He's, in my opinion, made one of the all-time best, solo acoustic guitar records, that World's Fair record, but just, with pick and fingers, and primarily pick. But if we look to the bluegrass world, there's people like David Greer who's made a lot of just sort of great sounding stuff that just sounds good solo flat picking. So there's precedent for that too. And so I've been playing around with that. That's one thing. There's a book and album project that I've been sort of working on and off loosely. And so this will be yet another year that I say I'm going to finish it. And that at least keeps it, I'm not saying it's on the front burner, but it's on the stove, and setting that intention keeps it there. It turns out it's a lot of work to actually write this stuff. Essentially, it would be, it's about 15 non-jazz and non-fiddle tune original pieces. And I want to make an accompanying book of the complete transcriptions. And that is a lot of work. And so I get very, very motivated, and I've gotten about 100 pages written, and then I can go a few months with going, not today, not today, not today. So that's another thing I'm going to try to drag over the finish line. But again, we have this new year to just sort of feel, new again, to get beginner's mind about, and even personally, like for me, I am one of these people that has not turned on, listened to, or read any news at all since election night. So, and I'm someone who maybe had gone a little too far down some of the rabbit holes with that and stuff. And you know what? I feel really, really good. I know I've got my head in my sand or whatever, and it's probably wise that we don't get into politics. But I'm just saying, like that's a resolution for me. I'll work my way back to becoming a somewhat informed citizen again, but recognizing that I'm not in the cockpit right now. I'm not flying this plane. I've done my part. But I need to focus on, my life, and I realized that was the amount of time given to that was not good. And I think that's another example of the kind of way you can reframe the new year and say, well, this is what I'm going to do this year, and see how far you can get with it. And that's how I feel about the new year.
That's great. I think my biggest problem with the new year is so many people decide that that's a point to make a binary kind of decision. Um, and I think that's why so many people fail. I think that you need to approach it as just change, recognizing the passing of an old and the introduction of a new, and deciding that you want to make change in the direction you want it to be. And it doesn't have to be binary. It doesn't have to be, I'm going to stop doing this day, or I'm going to start doing this day. Just kind of let it work.
I think that's a great point. I really appreciate that. And that's something, like, to bring it back to musical goals and stuff, I'll often tell students is, like, when we get in this sort of absolutist state of mind, like, I'm going to do scales every day for an hour. It's like me saying I'm going to run every day for an hour. And then when you set these big goals and then you don't accomplish it for 2 days at a time, then you just kind of can say, oh, screw it, you know? And it's just so, there's this, you know, in that case, it's abrupt, but in many cases, a lot of what we resolve with that sort of, like you said, binary thinking, there's this sort of continental drift, you know, like back, you don't even realize, like, oh, wow, I am back to whatever this is that you're trying to do. But if you can set really, you know, we have to play this little game with ourselves, I think. This is how it works for me with music and stuff, is I like to really time block plan, because I'm a little bit of a nut job, as you know, and I'm always trying to do a bunch of stuff, and I always have a long list. But I like to time block plan in 25-minute increments. So sometimes that can be like, I'm going to work on my, lately it's been like one tune for 25 minutes, you know, and then I set a timer. So then I have 5 minutes in between. I make about 4 of these in a row. So it's about 2 solid hours of work, but there's some breaks in the middle. And then in that 25-minute time block, the phone's in another room. I'm not on the internet, unless the 25 minutes is having to do with something I need to do on the internet. Just trying to absolutely unitask. I'm a nerd with this stuff. I love Cal Newport still. You know, I like the research around. He had some studies about what happens when you context switch. You know, like you're working on this thing, but then you get a text and it's about, you know, maybe it's Lauren and she needs me to pick her up later, and like even just little things like that these studies show that it can take up to 15 minutes to get back to where you were. And our time and our days now, because of the internet and it's the way it's, you know, permeated every moment of our life, our time is like cut up like confetti. It's just like some people feel like their time is just like Post-it notes, like floating in the wind and stuff. And you know, we're all old enough here to remember just not that long ago when, you know, you went fishing and all you did was fish for 2 hours, you know, or something. And so trying to get back to that place, I think this sort of time block planning is really useful. But to reel myself in and get back to my point, if you make those goals really small, like I'm just going to work on this one tune, and 25 minutes isn't a lot of time, then that's a doable goal. And then you get this sort of feeling at the end that we need, this little, you know, hamster wheel thing or something, or like, you know, like, oh, I can do this, or like one of my mantras, if I change one note of something in arrangement, I can walk away and go, progress was made. I say that a lot to myself, progress was made. Now, you know, there was not a revolution. I didn't, you know, do something amazing or memorize this giant piece of music or something. But if I can say progress was made, then that's good enough. So in conclusion, thanks for that, Tad. And I agree that when we get into these really big black or white goals, which we inevitably probably don't follow through on, we have the opposite feeling. We feel defeated, and it actually makes it just even less likely that you're going to come back to that thing or do it well, or even try new things. But if we set these little goals, but we focus on them for real, you know, but it's small time expenditures, and we have a little bit of victory, then that's a great little, you know, bit of neuroplasticity and a little bit of, you know, positive energy to keep you going. It's just one bite at a time.
Well, you set a light bulb off in my head. I think that's exactly the problem I've been having, is not focusing on a single task and allowing multiple things around me to distract me at any particular point in time. And I've just decided that that's going to be my goal for this year, is to start learning how to allocate time
Yeah.
towards specific things and
Yeah.
eliminating the distractions.
Yeah, and then with that goal, also be nice to yourself, because lest anyone think that I'm perfect here, if my wife is listening to, right, she'll tell you this is not, but I'm trying hard, and when it works, it really works. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, I'm also under the spell of algorithms, and the phone in particular is just always going to be the softest, most comfortable thing you can do in any moment. I mean, I can be frustrated that the bus still hasn't come, and yet look at some beautiful person's vacation photos and like, oh, it's just always going to be so it's a huge shift in human consciousness, I think, going on. Not to be, dramatic or to be dramatic, I think it's a real moment, and there's some really great things about that too, but it's also a little bit of a fly trap, and the smartest, most successful people literally in the whole world, who work very close to you guys, are in the business of selling our attention, and they're really effing good at it. And I think we all know that, and take advantage of it. I get to share Jonah's great video and my own music and stuff. There's some really great things about it, but we need to be able to recognize when we're getting stuck. And like I admitted earlier, I got a little stuck into the click based economy of breaking news. This just in. I got a little stuck in that, and now I'm unstuck, and I feel really good. But yeah, it's a more challenging time than ever to do what just came natural. I like to think about previous songwriters, right? Like you're sitting in your beach house writing a song, and yeah, that was the only thing on the menu. If you had incandescent lighting and a piece of paper and some food, you can do it. You weren't likely to get, pulled in so many different directions. So anyway, there's your New Year's thought.
Yeah,
For this year. We'll see if anything comes true for me.
I'm going to add a little something to that. And you kind of beat around it, but I think it's about honoring yourself when you have made progress, and realizing that I made progress, and that's a good thing. And I'm not saying slap your back and it's the greatest thing in the world, but treat yourself kind. You're the first person in line, and just try to be kind and to yourself, as we are to everybody else. But boy, it's good to be kind to ourselves. So, Eric, thank you.
Good to reward progress. Don't have to wait for accomplishment.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's always a joy to talk to you guys. It's great to see your faces and hear your voices.
Well, I'm really excited for the projects you've got coming up. That
thanks.
sounds like it's going to be really fun, and I hope we have a bunch of good links to add to the podcast for everybody who's not necessarily familiar with your work or the people you have played with and all the other things that you've done. So
thanks so much, guys. I'll send you some links here.
Great. Have a segmented and successful afternoon. Make progress.
Likewise. Over and out.
Make progress, boss. We'll see you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this installment of the Santa Cruz Coffee Break. For more music-related fun, please join the Santa Cruz Guitar Players Forum at SCGCPF or santacruzguitarplayers.com. If you have any questions or possible podcast topics, please contact us. If you have a product or service that you feel would be of value to our listeners, please consider adding your support and keeping the coffee pot on. Contact us for more information. We ask that you hit the like, follow, bell, or bookmark buttons so we can keep you informed of upcoming podcast episodes. We hope you enjoyed Santa Cruz Coffee Break. Now it's time to go play your guitar.